Welcome back to the Audible Angle. We got the fat guy and the less fat guy. I'm the first one. Hey, and we are back with the aforementioned, often mentioned, seldom delivered hoops talk. Little behind the scenes, as you're on the journey with us, as we develop the product for you. Forgot to mention subscribe on all platforms. We're going to be we're steam rolling towards our 50th episode, and boy, we'd love to get to 50 subscribers by then, because as we've mentioned before, that's when the big money starts rolling in, is 50 subscribers. So if you haven't, you might as well. Don't understand why we wouldn't. It's a pretty easy process. And technically, actually, if I include all platforms, we're over that, but whatever. Everyone knows what I mean. Click subscribe. Behind the scenes footage, though, change my hat. We dare admit we're recording these back to back. This is just to help me keep the videos separate and not intermingle them too much, though I'm not even sure that matters much. Let's get started on hoops. We have successfully, somehow, done a show recorded the night before Wisconsin and Minnesota men's basketball matchup, and we neglected to talk about them beforehand. So we are going to start off with that big matchup, the border battle. And, frankly, if you saw one of the games, you kind of saw both of them. Irby, take us through the most recent one and kind of the feelings as you started watching.
Yeah, I think you're right, Dilly, in the fact that they were basically the same game, just in different locations. The first one was at the Barn, and this one was at the Kohl Center. Uncharacteristically, and I'm going to say that in parentheses, right? Uncharacteristically, at the Kohl Center, because it's happened before and it's happened this year, but the Badgers started slow. I mean, and super cold. I think they made their first 2-point score with about 7 seconds left in the first half. That's when they made their all other scoring was done from the free throw line or one 3-pointer. It was ugly on the Badgers side, and it was equally as good on the Gophers side in the first half. And those things kind of changed. I don't recall the player from Minnesota that scored 17 it was a white gentleman, kind of a lanky European style looking fella. I don't know if you can. Yeah, Durkin scored 17 uncharacteristically in the first half of that game, Dilly. And boy, at halftime, I had some questions. About the Badgers. It was last time we talked about college basketball. I talked about this stretch of games for Wisconsin that was kind of right up their alley. They dropped one against USC. Dropping this one to Minnesota would have been unacceptable. Kind of would have put question on if they're going to make the NCAAs, because they need some quad one wins. They've got opportunities yet, guys. We're only halfway through, or maybe a little bit further halfway through the Big 10 season. But at the end, our guy Blackwell comes up big with a 3. First game in the Barn was at the last second. This one was the last possession for the Badgers, kind of put it out of reach. 4-point lead, and it's well chronicled. The Gophers don't shoot free throws well. And boy, there was a dude that shot a free throw, that Grove dude on Minnesota.
Yeah.
That guy has the worst, he doesn't even try to make it. He gets the ball and chucks it. He doesn't even try. It's like, what's going on? At the end of the day, Dilly, the Badgers got to win, but it brings some questions in, some good discussion here on the Badgers, and more importantly, I think on the Gophers. Do you think what's going on with the Gophers?
Well, I'll tell you what, if we wanted to break down each player on the Gophers, it'd be a pretty easy task. There's essentially, this game, there's 6 guys that played, technically 7, but, one guy played 3 minutes. Most of the crew is playing 35 plus minutes. And I don't know, I'll say this, as a Golden Gopher alum, and a fan of the basketball squad. I was there during the tough times of the Final Four that allegedly didn't happen. Now, when you look back, Bobby Jackson did not take the Gophers to the Final Four because they took the banner away, and I don't know why we pretend it didn't happen. In any case, the program has been topping out at decent, since then. They've made some tournaments here and there, and they haven't. I would say that a long way of saying as a fan, this is still encouraging for now. For this year, it's encouraging because you believe the team is getting coached up, and I can't imagine that Nico, went in the season thinking I'm going to play 6 guys. I think they had a contributor injured. They have a good player injured, but that'd be 7. 7 guys. I don't think that that's the way to head into a season. I think it's obviously an indicator of depth, and great, exceptional teams can overcome that. Middling teams with good coaching still probably can't overcome that in the long run. So, you feel good about it. You hang tough, and the Gophers sit at 10-11. I think 3-7 in the Big 10. We talked about it. They had a tough stretch. And this is the middle of a tough stretch for them. Can they get enough wins to be a middling Big 10 team and maybe win a couple in the tournament and sneak in to the NCAA tournament? That's the extreme optimist upside. I'd say it's pretty unlikely, but I do think it comes down to just general depth of talent. Man, if you ask those guys to play the whole game, that's why they're fizzling out. We're going to talk a little bit about Nebraska today. They had a lead in that game too. They've come out and played very good basketball teams, either very close for a long time or have built up a lead against good basketball teams. It was 35-17 at the half here. I don't have the exact timing of the breakdown, but I don't think the Gophers or the Badgers didn't score 20 straight to take the lead, so that it was a game well in, and it ended at 4 points. So it was a game deep into the game. And I just can't help but think that fatigue plays a factor. What did you see as you watched?
Yeah.
As a little bit more of a basketball watcher, were the Badgers playing, and they were missing shots. And you did say in the open, the Gophers did also look pretty good.
Yeah. First half, the Gophers look good. I think that was exactly what you're saying. I think that's a fresh of a Gophers team. I think that's a team that goes 6 deep right now with the Tyson injury. I think that it was a mixture of good defense. The Gophers are going to play good defense. They're going to make you earn your shots, and then on the other side, the Badgers weren't making them in the first half, and that probably had a little bit to do with their defense. Now, I will tell you what, Dilly, I think you hit the nail on the head. This is they just can't play 40 minutes of high end college Division I basketball with 6 or 7 guys, and you certainly, the fact that Tyson was out of this game and not playing, and they were up 17 points at half, tells you that there's talent there. And I'm going to run this through. I mean, Asuma is a great player. He's a good Division I player. Reynolds showed me more than what I thought he had down the stretch for the Gophers. And one guy that I was disappointed in this game for the Gophers specifically, and I'm going to spend a little time on the Gophers here, is that Crocker Johnson, right? Like he's a great player. He's kind of a thug on the block, Dilly, kind of that guy that does the dirty stuff, but he's got to score more, and he wasn't. And the Badgers were not they were giving him a shot, daring him to shoot threes. He wasn't making them. Durkin, I think he had a bad second half. He kind of came down to earth. I think 17 points. He finished with 20, 17 in the first half. This is a game, man. I mean, you run down the minutes that these guys are playing. Crocker Johnson's played 38. Durkin played 39. Grove, who can't shoot a free throw if his life depended on it, he's won for basically November, December, and January so far. He played 25 minutes. He worked hard but had foul trouble. Langston Reynolds played all 40 minutes. Never came off the court, man. 40 minutes, that's crazy. Zuma played 36, and then Kai Shinholster played 19. I think Kai is the guy that looks like he's 12, and they brought up from, Maple Grove High School to play the game just because it was local there, and grabbed him on the way out of the bus. I think there was a time where I thought, Dilly, to be honest, that there was maybe some issues with the coaching staff, but I think you nailed it on the head, right? I don't think that's any coaching. I think he got what he gets out of these guys. They've got to get Tyson back. They've got to find someone on the bench that can get them to 8 or 9 deep. I can't imagine that a Division I Big 10 basketball team doesn't have 10 guys that can play, right? Like, I mean, And what I mean by play, stick him in there for 5 or 10 minutes and just at least use 4 fouls. Like, that's all that the Gophers need right now, because they're getting, the problem is when, I mean, Crocker Johnson, he was in foul trouble in the first game and he doesn't play, and he needed to play. And that, I think that game's different. This game, you had Grove and Durkin that were in foul trouble. A little bit of with Asuma. He had 3 midway through the second half. And that's going to be a problem for Minnesota going through that, because I don't think they have anybody. Otherwise, they'd be playing them already, Dilly. I don't think they have anybody after 8. I was surprised they went 7 deep in this game, because Tyson would have been 8. So maybe they have 8 guys that can be serviceable. That's better than 7, which it's been for the last 6 games. But there's a problem here, and we can't. But it's not a talent problem, Dilly. It's not a talent problem at the top, right? It's a talent problem 7 through 12, and that's going to have to be rectified. And maybe we give a pass for the coaching staff because it's their first year.
I will say that in an odd sort of way, they've proven they can hang, at least for a while, with some big teams. They got Penn State on Sunday, who is not good. It'll be, but to me, that's still an interesting matchup to say, if they can't finish off Penn State, that's a big indicator, and hopefully, they get a little deeper on the bench, because it would be telling if they, control most of the game and then allow a big comeback there. They come back and face Michigan State, who we're going to talk about it kind of in the general Big 10, as predicted on the Audible Angle. They're making a push up the rankings. Then the schedule lightens up a little bit, and they get a couple home games, Maryland and Washington, Oregon, at least some unranked teams. So last time we talked hoops, the Gophers were going into a tough stretch, and they played tough and lost. Hopefully they get a bounce back game against Penn State. I'm willing to predict that they'll probably hang tough for a while against Michigan State. It is at home, so obviously a upset there would lead them into a stretch where they'd maybe feel like, hey, now we should win some games. Let's accumulate some wins. What do you see on the Wisconsin side of the ball? Bringing up their schedule here, they did drop a game against USC, which was less than ideal, but they did get through that stretch after the Michigan win. They got 4 out of 5 after the Michigan win, and that's all you can hope for when you're playing in a tough conference. And who do they got? Tomorrow they got Ohio State. So they may be finishing off a lighter stretch of opponents, and they got Indiana, Illinois, Michigan State, Indiana and Illinois on the road. What's your feeling heading into the next stretch for the mighty Badgers?
It's a good question, Dilly. And I think on our last episode we had talked, and the stretch is 6 games. So we got to include that last game. And I think I said, if we get out of that, in that last episode, if we can get out of that 5 out of 6, because you're going to drop 1 just because it's a Big 10. So if we can go down and we can beat Ohio State, I think that game's at home. I think that's the last one at home. We're at Indiana. I think if we go 5 out of 6 and then maybe steal one on the road, because Indiana's a tough team. They're coming off a big win in the Big 10 against Purdue, who was, I think, to be honest, a little overrated. We'll get deeper into that in a second. But here's my problem with the Badgers. Again, and it's the same problem, and I'm going to say it. We've got really 2 good guards. Our front court is solid. And when I talk about our front court, I mean Boyd and Blackwell. Those guys are both averaging almost 20, 19.9 for Boyd and just over 18 for Blackwell. And Nolan Winter is serviceable. Nolan Winter is who he is. He's in his junior season. This guy came out of nowhere, other than the fact that I know he came out of Minnesota, but he was just a skinny dude. He's put on a lot of weight. He's serviceable. But he is a 7-foot guy that plays outside, right? He doesn't have that back to the hoop. When we need a hoop, he's going to go get it, and that's the problem with the Badgers this year. The Badgers need the 3-point ball to fall. You saw what they did in the second half against Minnesota. It's the same thing how they're coming back and winning. They're making threes. They scored 50 points in the second half versus 17 in the first half. And the reason that happened is they shoot 42% from the 3-point line in the second half against the Gophers and under 10 in the first half. Now, that's the way these Badgers go, but I think we still need more. We saw a flash with Braden Carrington at the barn against Minnesota, and now he's kind of gone cold a little bit. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He's a serviceable player, but we need to get more out of Austin Rapp and Rhodey. Rhodey's that guy that came in. He's a local kid from Wisconsin. He came in from Virginia, and he's only averaging 6. We need him in double figures. And you say, Eric, that's only 3 points more per game. Yeah, that's the average. You're right. And we need him averaging up where Winter is at 14. So then we have a four-headed monster. Austin Rapp's going to make threes, right? And he's going to do the dirty work under the hoop as well. He's a big dude, young kid. We've got a couple of guys off the bench that are serviceable as well in the front court. But where we're missing it, man, is we need a little more from Winter, a little more from Rapp, and a lot more from Rhodey. Rhodey plays great defense. Now I give him a pass a little bit on the offensive end because he's pushing a lot on the defensive end as well. He's guarding a lot of good players, but we need a little bit more out of him in the offensive end. And what that is spot up shots. We've got two guys that can drive the hoop. Blackwell can get his, Boyd can get his, mostly in the transition game. I just think that the Badgers are going to be just out of the top 25 most of the year, Dilly. I like to see them winning. Right now, 5 out of 6 is good, right? 4 out of 5 is good. We need to get 5 out of 6, get that one at home, go on the road, play decent. Maybe we catch fire and steal one from Illinois. Then all of a sudden we're 9-3 in the Big 10. Right now we're 7-3. We're right behind the big boys right now. We're right behind the big boys in the league. Don't know if we might be able to steal a big one here coming up. I'm happy with it, Dilly, but I'm not satisfied with the Badgers. I think there's more to do.
And yeah, looking at the schedule, it does kind of look a little bit like it's going to be, a solid 2 weeks. It's going to be Valentine's Day episode before we have a real good feel for maybe are they contenders, Cinderella run, Sweet 16 type of team, and see what happens. Roll the dice from there, or if they drop to Indiana, Illinois, Michigan State, then you're back to questioning where they really fit into this league. Speaking of the league, our good friends at Nebraska, who really believes in Nebraska basketball, they finally dropped one to Michigan. Should Nebraska catch anybody off guard? I mean, they lost to Michigan. They got Illinois coming up on Sunday, I think that is. Sunday, 4 p.m. at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Do you think they'll battle back here, or do you expect them to, maybe not wheels come off, but a little back to reality? They got Rutgers, then Purdue, so they're playing Michigan, Illinois, Purdue, the big wigs of the league. What are we gonna think about Nebraska and about Valentine's Day?
It's a tough answer. It's a tough question to answer, Dilly, and here's why. That reason, I firmly believe that Nebraska beats Michigan in that game if they have the two guys that were injured out or back in. So they had their stud Mass, a big guy. He was out with illness, so he should be back against Illinois, barring any unforeseen circumstances with an illness here. But he should be back. That dude is the offense, and he cleans the windows for Nebraska. And so overall, Dilly, Nebraska's for real. They were one of 3 undefeated teams before they lost to Michigan. Michigan's good. Michigan fought 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, before they played Wisconsin, was the odds-on favorite to win the NCAA tournament because they were beating everybody and beating everybody handily. This was not a handily won game by the Michigan Wolverines. Nebraska was there, down 2 players, Fager as well. Was out. He has an ankle, so I don't know if he's going to be back against Illinois, but I'll tell you right now, the difference maker is going to be Mast. If he is back in that lineup against Illinois, I will tell you that won't be a loss for Nebraska. Nebraska's a better team than Illinois. Illinois is pesky. They're very foreign. They're very Lithuanian. They're very not from the United States. It's annoying. I'm not the only one that's annoyed. I know there's a couple of listeners that also have voiced it to me. Illinois is a tough team to get behind, in my opinion. I don't know if I like the coach and his fieriness over at Illinois, but I will tell you, Fred Hoiberg, and the Cornhuskers are for real. They're going to win that game on Sunday. Can't wait to get back to this and see if I'm right, but I think they're a better team, a much better team with Mast in the game against Illinois. And I'll be honest, I thought that they probably would have lost or won the game against Michigan if he was healthy, Billy.
Yeah, well, and we are actually going to hit on the agenda is a little bit of a G League versus international players with pro experience, for playing in pro club systems and NCAA eligibility. We'll get into that a little bit. Wanted to touch on Purdue a little bit. I think you mentioned that perhaps they were overranked a little bit early, and that could have been in the pre-show meeting, but Purdue. I guess I'm asking about teams that are perhaps on the slide. Is Purdue on the slide? They're still ranked, in the top 15. They've been dropping, bringing up. You said I think they had 3 losses. Who the hell else been 3 in a row?
Yeah,
UCLA, Illinois, Indiana. Is Purdue on a little bit of a watch list?
I think I think Purdue, I mean, they're a middling Big 10 team in the top 25. I think they settled in this week at 15, somewhere in that rank, and that's probably where I'd like them. They're a pesky team, the fact that Wren, the hyphenated last name, their big guy, he's pretty good, he's consistent, he works hard. Their point guard that's been around for, like, 16 years, I mean, him and he's an annoying guy. To be honest, Dilly, Purdue is annoying to me. Like ever since they've been legit for the last, all of 5, 7 years. This year, I don't think they're legit. And I think they came back to earth and those losses against Illinois, who was nationally ranked. They're a good team, but UCLA, flash in the pan, they're going to be a 500 team probably. They're a good team, but they're not playing great. Maybe they're playing better now because it's just recently. And then Indiana, I'm not sure about either. I think they're a middling Big 10 team as well. So I think that Purdue's probably falling back to where they should be. They're still a top 25 team. They're probably going to be in the low 20s, high teens for the rest of the year. Probably going to get a 6, 7 seed where they're sneaky. They could probably win a few games in the league if things fall right. If they don't run into a mid-major that's a stud like Miami of Ohio or something like that, because it'll make them uncomfortable. But Purdue is that team that I would say is probably right. They're probably the 5th or 6th best team in the Big 10, but I don't think they can compete against the top 10. I think that's probably right where they should be. Their coaching staff's solid. I mean, he wins. He knows what it takes to win. He'll get them to play hard, obviously, but this is where they need to be, Dilly. It doesn't surprise me that they're dropping games. And I will get into the rest of the Big 10 as well, but I think Purdue's where they need to be.
I was looking at the rankings overall, and a topic you brought up. We do have the big. Do we still call it? They do still call it the Big 10, which is kind of weird.
Big
And
10
we got
with
the Big
34
12.
teams. Yeah.
We still got the Big 12, which is also about 35 teams. They're heavy at the top. Um, Big 10, strong at the top, real strong at the top. And then, um, what are your thoughts on the Big 12 versus Big 10? Rankings. It's pretty much Arizona, Michigan, a little bit of UConn and Duke in there. Um, but in the top 10, top 12, 15, 13 is BYU. There's a lot of Big 12. Kansas is up there. What are your thoughts on Big 12 and Big 10?
Well, I think this is kind of timely, right? In the fact where I think we're just coming off the college football season, and Big 10 has solidified themselves as the best conference in the country, right? On the football side. And I think it's an interesting conversation to have in who's the best. I think it's really between two conferences right now of who's the best as far as deepest, most. I mean, there's an argument to be had. Is UConn better than Arizona? I don't know. Right now, record wise, they're not. Maybe should Duke be discussed here? They've got a strong freshman class again. Chef, those guys are playing well. But let's look at it, Dilly. I'm leaning towards the Big 10 being better. That's not going to be taken well by our listeners. I know that our listeners are primarily in that Big 12 country. Talking about our reach in last episode, we reach all the way down to Big 12 country. So there's going to be a lot of people that aren't happy about this. But I think at the top end, if we're just talking about the top teams and in the top 25, with Michigan being at 3, Nebraska being at 5, Michigan State at 7, Illinois at 9, Purdue at 12, That's a lot of teams. That's the top 5 teams in there, and then you look at Zona, yeah, they're number 1, but then it falls off. Houston is there at 7, Iowa State's there at 8, they've lost a few games, and then they go to 11 with Texas Tech, and then BYU's at 13, and Kansas now back in the game with probably the best player in the country on Kansas's team, they're at 14. So there's an argument to be had, right? Who is the better division? I think that the breaker, the deal breaker, if you will, here with the Big 10 are teams like Iowa, who's scraping. They'll be in the big if they win, they'll be in the top 25 come Monday if they win this weekend. Wisconsin, I don't know if they're going to get into the top 25, but that's the next team in line here in the Big 10. So they're 7 strong. Nobody wants to play Wisconsin. Nobody wants to play Iowa. I question after those first 5 teams, and I'll be honest, I'm not a big Arizona fan. Now they will. Now here's the other thing too about that, Dilly. It can't be just rankings in these two because you know as well as I do they'll beat the crap out of each other. They do every year, right? This weekend, the big game is going to be Nebraska versus Illinois. So one of those teams is going to drop. The other team is going to rise. There's going to be a big game there was just a big game. Arizona just played BYU and they went to the last play essentially. So they're going to beat each other up in both leagues. So the rankings isn't the end all say all. I'm just telling you that I really wish that these teams would play against each other early in the season. There probably was a few that did to give us a litmus test. I just question, Dilly, if Arizona is the best team in the country right now. I would argue that Arizona is maybe the most consistent team, but they depend a lot on twos. That's a team, if you really look at them, Dilly, they don't make a lot of threes, and that's what wins in this league. That's what wins in college basketball is making threes. But consistency-wise, twos are going to count as well. You just can't go away from a team. You saw it in BYU, Arizona. Arizona was up by 17-20 with about 10 minutes left in that game. BYU screamed back because they might have the second best player in the country with AJ. Third best is probably sitting with Duke there with the Boozer boy. But I will tell you, there's an argument to be had, and I don't know where I'm going to sit with Big 10. I'm in Big 10 country, so I'm going to ride with Big 10 because here's the deal. Here's the deal breaker. I'm a firm believer in Mr. Izzo and Michigan State. I think they're going to end the year in the top 5. I think that Michigan State's going to be a 1 seed, at worst a 2 seed when we get to March. And I will tell you that Texas Tech is probably going to fall off. I think Kansas doesn't have the staying power because they're too focused on one player. I think Houston is a real deal there too in the Big 12. I think Houston's probably my favorite right now to win the national championship. It's weird that I'm talking about Houston and not talking about Arizona. That's my point, Dilly. That's my point.
Going off script here, quick. How about our friends in Green Bay? EWGB, 7-4 in conference, 12-10. How are we matching up against Wright State and Oakland and whatever PFW is? I don't even know what that is.
It used to be the IUPUI.
That's right.
No, Fort Wayne. Fort Wayne is also there. So here's the thing about GB. Good team. Gottlieb's got him playing well, Dilly. He's got him playing, believing. The one question mark I had, they had Oakland here just a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago. They had Oakland at home at the Crest Center in the friendly confines right on campus there, where everybody, I mean, we had at least, the UW Green Bay had at least 7 students at that game. I mean, I saw it. They had 7 students, and they've got a pom squad full. I mean, it's like 17 pom girls and a couple dudes. So we had it rocking in the Crest Center. There was easily 150 people at that game. So, but Oakland defied the odds and came into the Crest Center and beat the pants off the Phoenix. Wasn't close, and that's my question. I don't know if they can play well enough in big games. And you're playing at home, you got to win those games. I don't think that the Horizon League is any different than the Big 10 and the fact that you have to win your home games and you got to hold serve at your home games if you're going to do. Now, they did bounce back. I get it, Phoenix fan. I get it, fanatic. They did bounce back, and they won a big game on the road against Wright State, which was a big way to keep in the conference running. I think this is Oakland's conference to take. But let's be honest, if you're bleeding that green behind me, if you graduated from the same, we're used to good basketball. It's nice to see Gottlieb getting to play well, Dilly. There's some local kids there too. It's fun to see that again. I mean, it's fun to see some kids from from Kimberly playing well, a kid from some other local kids from Wisconsin playing well. Then you mix in some good guys. I mean, I think we have a 29-year-old freshman on that team. Spent some time in the armed forces. Now he's back playing well. That was a story early in the year, but it was kind of it's a good thing to follow. It's a good thing for UW Green Bay. It's a good thing for Green Bay to get us something to talk about here, especially with us off. The Packers not in the playoffs or the Super Bowl. I just want to see what we can do in those big games. We've got to steal one. We've got to steal another if we have a chance. But hey, getting a 2-3 seed is a lot better than being almost 366th in the country last year.
Right. I was going to say the turnaround is key. The building of hope. You believe at this point in the season, you believe you can get into the conference tournament, win some games, and see if you get hot. That's well within the realm of possibility. So we're going to jump from extremely local to overseas ball, if you're ready for that. And you're going to have to bring me up to speed a little bit. I'm aware of a G League player getting college eligibility again, and then there's been a lot of squabbling about that. Bring us up to speed on, G League. I mean, they're professional. They get paid. Versus international club ball and where all these college kids are coming from overseas.
Yeah, I mean it's a problem. Essentially, what we have is there's the latest on this is there's a judge that's recused himself from the proceedings who did the basically this kid got a restraining order against the NCAA. He could play for 10 days at Alabama. He suited up the next day. He's not a big contributor, to be honest, on Alabama. Alabama's a top 25 team. They've fallen down to 23. Got a local kid on that team. Shout out to Amari Allen and his family. A Preble Futures alumni there. Nice work, Amari. Long list as a freshman, by the way, of top freshmen in the country. And unfortunately, Amari's not tipping the top 10 yet. And I think he's averaging. Anyway, good player out of Green Bay. Here's the deal, Dilly. I think it's a lot about nothing, to be honest, because the NCAA with the NIL and some of those rules have been allowing European players to be coming in and playing as freshmen at 22, 23, 24 years old, and they have professional experience. And I'm not just talking one-offs. Right now I can think of a couple off the top of my head. There's a kid out in Duke from Italy. He's the SAR kid. He's playing. He played 2-3 years of professional ball in Europe. There's a kid that plays for Virginia, De Ritter. He's playing. He's from Belgium. Grunlow from Germany. He's at Virginia as well. The big kid, the Petrovic. I think you remember his kids. There's a Petrovic that used to be slinging it from three. His dad, played for the Kings. He's from Serbia. He's playing.
Nice.
Murray State's got a kid out of France. So this is happening on the international stage for these kids. Badgers have a kid that's a freshman at 21 years old, and he has pro experience, so he was getting paid. Maybe because it was in yen, or maybe it was because it's in a different thing. We're making a big deal out of the fact that these guys were getting paid in dollars, but it shouldn't be a deal. Now, NCAA, you got to sort it out. You got to make a rule. We've got to make something happen. It's the wild, wild west right now in the NCAA, and it isn't fun. I was arguing with my son, Gavin, that we're one step away, guys, and I'm being serious here, Dilly. We're one step away at the NCAA in the men's basketball era of being the Major League Baseball of the NCAA. What I mean by that is nobody wants to watch the Dodgers keep winning. Nobody wants to watch the Yankees keep winning. Gone are the chances that the Brewers have a chance of winning a World Series, in my opinion, and we saw it. They won it. They won a great series against the Cubs. We all knew they didn't have a chance against the Dodgers, and they got swept. And their pitcher, the Dodgers pitcher, hit 4 home runs. Come on. It's not even close. I mean, he throws 7 innings of damn near shutout games, and then the pitcher hits 4 home runs in game 4. We don't have a chance. But my point is this, Dilly. The NCAA needs to come up with a CBA of some sort that caps this stuff so that they can't just be going to grab everybody, because now all of a sudden we're going to get 6 or 7 or 10 teams that are only the best teams. Is it already there? Maybe it is. Maybe I'm worried about something that's already happening, right? But I need to see Alabama compete. I want to see Gonzaga have a chance. And I don't know if that Mark Few I mean, he's been coaching for 38 years out there in Gonzaga. I want him to compete. I want him to get his national championship. He should have won it already. He just hasn't. Can he compete with Duke? Can he compete with the Pockets? I don't know, and it's bothering me. I like NCAA basketball, but I like it the way it is. I don't want it to get any worse.
I tell you what, I have a bad feeling in general about the NCAA. I don't know. I was trying to be restrained there. They're a bunch of crooks and bums over at the NCAA. But here's my prediction for how they'll answer, the loss of because they're losing a little magic in the NCAA tournament. Even Cinderella squeeze is a real thing. I just made up that term. Apologize to anybody if they made that up, but the Cinderellas are getting squeezed, and here's what I bet NCAA will do because they've been playing with it for years already. They'll do something ridiculous like make the NCAA 96 tournament 96 teams. They'll expand that thing and say, hey, look, everybody has a chance. We're going to have the Mid-Continent Conference. They'll have a bunch of low seeds play some feeder games, which will actually give the big teams a little more rest and an easier path when it's all said and done. Or maybe they'll have 1 versus 32 seeds, which will be a total waste of time, and everybody will, eventually in 100 years, one of those 32 seed team will win. But yeah, I don't have a lot of confidence in the NCAA to sort it out correctly. They already have a mess on their hands. I mean, frankly, the G League thing seemed foreign to me. No pun intended, with the foreign players having basically a different set of rules. We'll see if they sort it out or if they just become, a younger person professional league. I mean, are they going to get to a situation too where, and I'm surprised they haven't. I mean, it's just eligibility limits would eventually play a part in it. But unless you're going in the top 10 picks, why not just try to play college for 6 years or however many they let you? Which brings me to another topic
Well,
that you brought up.
Can I close this out just real quick? Just a point here, Dilly, and I think we're probably where I'm worried we're going, but there's a little bit of light recently, and I'm gonna sling some of the final 4 teams. 2025 is Florida, Duke, Houston, and Auburn, all 1 seeds, right? So they got it right during the regular season. Those are all big teams. I would argue that Auburn was maybe a flash in the pan with some of the older players. That was a team that we didn't see happening. In 2024 is UConn, Purdue, Alabama, and NC State. Alabama and NC State probably didn't have a right to be there, right? NC State for sure. Alabama was a talented team in 24. They're still a talented team in 2026. But then you go 23, you've got UConn, San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, and Miami, Florida. Those 3 teams, that's when it's fun. That's why it's fun for us to watch the NCAA tournament, March Madness. That's crazy. Nobody thought San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, Fly's Jamaslama, whatever it was, in Miami, Florida to be in the finals. And then in 22, there was a bunch of blue bloods, Kansas, North Carolina, Duke, and Villanova, who's kind of fallen off the face of the earth. And then in 21 is the last time that Gonzaga was there. And Houston was there again, UCLA, Baylor, some blue bloods. So maybe it's already there, Dilly. I wanted to get to your point, but my point is I want to see 2023 repeat itself in 26, and I don't think we're going to get there.
The next point I was going to bring up was we're talking about top 10 picks in the NBA draft, and we had a big matchup. I was going to say, I feel like everybody knew about this because it was such an epic clash, but we had Flag versus Kniepel, K2. Maybe raising his status a little bit. Everybody knew about Flag. A lot of people knew about Kniepel, maybe not as, the number 1 pick, but he showed up pretty huge in an exciting clash of rookie basketball players.
Yeah, what a game. Actually, I don't watch a lot of NBA basketball because I don't like watching NBA basketball until we get to the play-in tournament when these guys actually start trying, because they're just jockeying around for the lower teams are jockeying to try to get the lottery picks. The higher teams are just making sure they make the play, get out of the play-in games. But it's fun to watch Flag and K2 play. I mean, K2's got a local flavor here in Wisconsin. That dude, nobody thought. Now I get it. He was the 4th drafted player I didn't think he was going to go as high as 4. I thought that was a little high. K2 didn't. I'll guarantee you Sherry didn't think that. Sherry's all about K2. Sherry is mom, for those of you that aren't as close to the K2 family, the flying Kniepels, if you will. But man, K2 was solid. Flag was better. Those are the top 2 rookie of the year looks. I think Flag is edging him right now, Dilly. But K2 is really kind of, here's the deal. Charlotte Hornets are legit, and they're legit probably because of K2 and the ability that he's brought in hitting threes. That reminds me, Dilly, we've got to get after that. We're efforting Sherry. That's kind of we're getting her on the show. I'm sure she's going to show. Maybe we've got just exhaust 2026's budget to get Sherry on. We'll talk K2 a little more, but man, that was awesome. I mean, Flag goes for 49, the most points scored by a teenager. Reminder, Dilly, Cooper Flag is 19 years old. He just dropped 49. K2 didn't have a terrible game either. He scored 34, and K2 is the reason that the Charlotte Hornets won that game. He got a tip steal. Flag fouled him. 2 roommates getting after it on the highest level here, and they're pretty darn good at it. I don't think that can't sleep on either one of those guys. Fun to watch, local kids. Fun to watch. 19-year-old beat the shit out of the rest of them, and he gets his hoop whenever he wants it, baby.
I was going to lament a little bit the playoff structure in the NBA because you were talking about the play-in game. So, there's 10 teams that are fighting for it. But you just turned me around. I mean, you got the Charlotte Hornets are knocking on the door. And it is kind of fun if a player like that gets in there, a young guy gets into a playoff game in his rookie year. Guys get drafted to questionable teams, typically in the NBA draft. Although teams have, we don't have to lament too much on it, but who even knows who has the draft picks because they trade them for 5 years out to try to make one run at it. I'm looking to see here where is Dallas in the mix too. Dallas, they're 4 games out of the play-in game spot. I'm down at the bottom of the bracket. So both those teams, not necessarily good, but they got to be excited about having young guys show out extremely well. And maybe that would make the play-in games a little more fun if you get Flag and Kniepel in there. Regarding having Sherry on the show, it's not really a budget thing. We've been doing very well. Had the big meal at JJ's Clubhouse. Our slate is pretty booked, and that's the truth of it. We got a lot of guests. We got things in the hopper a little bigger than Sherry. Do we say Sherry Nordgaard? Just so everybody knows the roots of the conversation. But yeah, I mean, we love her, but as much as we'd love to have her on, maybe by playing game time that there'd be some openings, but the audible angle slot is pretty filled, and it's hard even for us to get a guest, give a guest enough space to have some words in edgewise. We got to kind of plan that out. We didn't not willy-nilly around here. Last thing, favorite topic since we smoothly transitioned to the NBA. What's the deal with Giannis? Do we care that every 4 weeks for the last 4 years somebody comes up with a newfangled trade rumor scenario? Is that, for a long time we believed that wasn't him. Is it his agents? Is it random ESPN hacks just beating the drum for some content? Or where are we at on Giannis?
I think this is the real deal, Dilly. I don't think that this thing happens before the February 5th deadline, which is looming early next week. But I do think it's a real deal. I think that now what has changed, to be honest, is the Bucks are interested in talking. Let's be honest, he's under contract. The Bucks don't have to do anything. So they've got to find, what I'm hearing is that the Heat are kind of leading, the Knicks are there. Golden State is there, but there's some here's the deal. The Bucks need it. It's going to help both people. We need to help Giannis. He's been here for 12 years, dude. He brought something we haven't had in Milwaukee in the pro level for 50 years. And it was fun to watch. It was a good ride. Nobody's around him. I do feel bad for the guy that came from the Pacers. I feel terrible. He's like, I'm here for one reason, man. I'm in Milwaukee for this. I left the championship team because there's a guy that got hurt, and I thought that maybe you guys could get me there. Now, Giannis, you're leaving. I think Giannis is gone in the offseason. I think he finishes the year. Maybe we see something. by February 5th. They're listening, Dilly. The Bucks are listening, and it's going to be good for both parties. I mean, Giannis is going to go to a winner. They'll make him better. He will make them better wherever he goes. I think we need to get 3 first-rounders and a couple serviceable players to kinda survive the season. But then the Milwaukee's looking at a lottery pick. Maybe we get a kid like K2 that can make a difference. You know, I mean, they're out there.
Well, I tell you what, maybe we can do Indiana solid, or maybe they'd be doing us a solid if they trade to get Miles Turner back, because he's not a young guy. You know, it is one of those things where you don't want to. You just hope it's a big deal. If he does get traded, we'll be Giannis fans forever. All Bucks fans should be. We'll wish him well. Minnesota entered the chat a little bit on it. It didn't make a ton of sense because they don't have a lot of draft capital. But that'd be fun. That'd be close to home. I'd get to watch them all the time. But you know, you just hope for the Bucks' sake, if they have to pull the trigger, it's multiple first round picks, a couple young guys that are already playing, not just a project or two here or there. You know, it's unfortunate that it came to this. You know, we all wanted to keep that team together as long as you could, and then you made the big move for Damon, and Stoudemire got hurt, and Middleton, you know, he got old. You know, it's just time ran out on the configuration of the team a little bit. And that'll be the conclusion of our NBA talk for possibly quite a while. We'll see if we get back into it closer to the playoffs. Any final wraps, Herbs? We're keeping another episode under the hour and a half mark. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think it was a great episode, and we for the record, guys, we went through an entire episode without mentioning the team out of Green Bay here, which we will continue. I won't say their name, but I will leave you with this, Dilly. There's a player watch, player of the year watch. Let's keep an eye on him. AJ Diabanza out of BYU, Cam Boozer out of Duke, and Darren Peterson, the leader in the clubhouse right now at Kansas. Those are the top 3 players in the country. Prove me wrong. Screw you, Braden Smith from Purdue. You are not the top player in the league. Screw you. After playing for 9 years for the Boilermakers, you get nothing and like it. There's 3 better freshmen right now than you, and they're going to get the player of the year. Really interested to see how the second half of the season for those 3 guys goes, to see who gets that best player in the country in college basketball.
Is this guy that you're throwing out to the curb here? Is he like the new age Sam Oakey, who Cassville's own Sam Oakey, who seemed to play for every team in the Big 10 for about 12 years?
Yeah, Braden Smith is one of those guys who's in the Naismith conversation. I'm like, why? Why? Like, why? Like, seriously, why? What does he do that another point guard that's 6'4" can't do? And I know Purdue Boilermaker fan, guy, gal, you're coming at me. Bring it. If you listen for 47 minutes, we'll have a nice conversation in the comments. Leave your comments. Braden Smith, one of the most overrated players in the league, in my opinion. Braden Smith, you are not in the conversation this year for the top player.
Little kids, you crazy old SOB. I don't think we swore this episode. This is amazing. We better cut her now. See you soon,
Good
Herbs.
episode, Billy. Tip.